And we're live. Welcome everybody to 5 Minute Friday with Startup TNT. My name is Gloria Tom. I'm the local lead for Manitoba. With me today, I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by Dr. Norm Silver and Mr. Dave Berkowitz, co-founders of a great company in Winnipeg here called Qdoc. Thanks for joining me today, both of you.
Well, thanks for having us, Gloria. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So I'm going to jump right in here. We've got a couple of questions to guide this conversation, and I know people are really going to enjoy hearing your thoughts on these topics. But I thought we'd start off by just talking a little bit about Qdoc, and I'm really interested to know, and our viewers will be interested to know, what gave you the idea to get going with this company and start building Qdoc?
Well, thanks, Gloria. Yeah, that's a good question. So Qdoc is a virtual platform that connects patients to physicians in real time using a unique work distribution process. So a patient will go online, click one button, and multiple doctors are notified that there's a patient to be seen. And then the first doctor to connect gets a video-to-video encrypted connection with the patient, so you can do your medical visit. And then after the visit, we have integrated some software that they built that will bill the provincial governments for the visit, so patients don't pay anything. You asked why we wanted to start it. Is that the other question about this? So yeah, so I've been in healthcare for 20 years, and Dave's been working in healthcare for almost 30 years in medtech. So we always got together and talked about issues in healthcare. And we knew that patients, from patient perspective, there was a very difficult time trying to see a doctor. You had to, if you had a family physician they could see, often they may not be available for weeks. If you didn't, or if you brought up and there was something that needed to be seen that same day, you had to figure out where to go. Then you had to go there and you had to wait in the waiting room from a physician, and then finally get seen, and that could take 3, 4, or 5 hours. From a physician perspective, if people may not be aware of this, but when I see patients, it can take up to 50% of my time to chart on the patient chart. And if I work for a clinic, I pay up to 30% overhead. So we build Qdoc so patients can see physicians from the comfort of their own home, and physicians can see patients from anywhere at any time, and using what they've built, we can save 90% of their charting time.
That's fantastic, and you're absolutely right, and I can personally relate to the struggle of not just wanting to get a dedicated family doctor, but then trying to get back in to see that doc and not have to wait, a long time. That's a challenge that I think a lot of people can relate to. Segueing from that, both you and Dave have years of background experience in medicine and in med tech. I'm curious to know, is building your own business, journeying into entrepreneurship, something you've always both enjoyed and wanted to do?
Well, I think we've been friends for a very long time, originally, over my 20 years in medicine, I realized very quickly I was really interested in finding gaps in healthcare, and trying to fill those gaps, finding a problem and then creating a solution. So one of the first things from my perspective, about 20 years ago, I started in children's emergency, and I saw the patients would come in with minor things that needed maybe X-ray, and they would go to triage. They get triaged, then they'd wait in the waiting room. Then they would get called into a room. They'd see a doctor would go, you need an X-ray. They get sent back to the waiting room. Then they go to X-ray. Then they get sent back to the waiting room. And then they would finally see the doctor. And the doctor would go, okay, yeah, this is what you got. I'm going to put you in a cast and go on your way. So this is one of the first innovative things that I created a solution for. So what I did is created a protocol. The patient could come in, go directly to triage, when they would normally do. But the triage nurse then had a protocol they can go to and say, hey, you have an ankle injury, you meet these criteria, we're sending you directly to X-ray. And they come back, they wait in the waiting room once, they see the doctor once, and then they get sent on their way. So when they looked at that, that saved an hour and 45 minutes per patient on average for those patients.
That's huge.
Since then, we've done a lot of like innovative things, but the first few things, last few things, Dave and I have done together. So we've done a couple of businesses. We started the first urgent care clinic outside of a hospital in Manitoba. It's the Minor Illness and Injury Clinic, according to Harold. One plug for that one. Dave helped start the software development for a penicillin allergy clinic. It's the first of its kind in Canada. And then we started a COVID testing site where patients would go up, drive through, and get tested. And they were in and out, usually in 2 to 3 minutes. We're at the peak seeing 16 patients every 5 minutes. So a very efficient process.
Yeah.
And more recent, of course, now Qdoc, which we think solves a huge problem in healthcare.
Yeah, 100% get that. Maybe the next question is to both of you, and if you can both provide an answer, I'd be interested in both of your perspectives. As you've built out Qdoc, what would you say is one of the most important lessons you've learned during the build out of this company?
So I think there's two things that I think that we've learned. I think one of them in particular is asking for help. So there's a really good video, and I think if people haven't seen it, they should look up Steve Jobs and just ask. I've heard a lot of people have seen it. It's a pretty famous video, but basically in his video, he said that he was 12 years old. He wanted to make a frequency counter. And so he called up Bill Hewitt from Hewlett & Packard, and he was 12 years old. He said, "Hey, I'm Steve. I'm 12 years old. I was wondering if you have any extra parts." And then from that, he got sent the materials, and he got a summer job at the Hewlett Packard plant. So that, I mean, just if Steve Jobs can do it, I think we can do it. So we always ask for help. And the second thing, and for sure, is something I've definitely knew but learned, and it's been reinforced over and over again, and our staff know as well, is never taking an original no for an answer. And I'll give you an example of what happened in July of 2021. We had just started the company, and of course we were looking for grants. And one of our staff, contacted NRC IRAP, and we had, and she actually didn't tell me that she was doing this, but then got on the phone with them, and I guess realized that she needed some help. So she got me on the phone, and I talked to the IRAP intake person, and I was with my son at a park. And so, I talked to him about Qdoc, went well, and then we went to the next stage. Pretty informal. Next stage, I didn't bother and didn't know to read through what IRAP's looking for. And we had a pretty horrible meeting that day with technical. And, so we got a rejection letter, so, thanks for meeting with us, but we didn't, we're not interested in funding your company. But I realized we did not tell them what we were doing. So I spent some time, said, I know you said no problem, but I just wanted to make sure you understood what we did. So I wrote a nice email, and then, after that, we got our first $50,000 grant from IRAP. Because of that, since then, we've gotten another $50,000 grant. We've got other grants. We get shred is easier because of IRAP. So just not taking no for the first time.
Yeah.
There's many examples that our staff know. If you get a no, pick up the phone and call the person on the other line and explain to them what you're doing. The worst thing, you'll learn something and how to do better next time. 100%. But more than half the time, we turn a no into a yes. After that, so
that's great. What would you guys say to young founders that are looking at starting a new business to today, and what would you share with them that you wish you had known before you started building?
That's tough. Yeah. So I don't know. I would say the biggest thing for me is, I knew I had really good domain knowledge in medical care, in the medical system. Dave has unbelievable, and a little bit tech maybe. Dave has a very amazing knowledge in med tech and good knowledge in the medical system as well. But we felt even though we'd done other businesses before, but these were simple businesses, we felt we needed help with other aspects, business aspects. We joined North Forge. We got some business advisors that were much more seasoned than ourselves. And so I think, I mean, it's kind of like Just Ask, but it's, know what you're strong in, know what you're weak in,
Yes.
and then fill those gaps in your own business as well. Like figure out what you need help. So we have help from business advisors, North Forge. We have really good accountants. We have really good lawyers. And not all of them were getting paid at first, right? They just wanted to help. And just like Steve Jobs says in the Just Ask thing, you ask someone for their opinion and their expertise, it's a flattering thing to get asked. So they usually want to help you. They usually want to tell you what they know and help you along your way. And so that's, I think, is surround yourselves with people that are going to help you, and never be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
And if you're not good at something, you don't have to do everything.
Yeah.
Get people that are, the best thing to do is as leaders of a business is get people that are smarter than you in aspects of your business, so you don't have to know everything, right? So
that sounds like, advice coming from someone who has been seasoned in this, and I really appreciate your perspective on it. That's great advice. Thank you, Dr. Silver. Thank you, Dave, for joining us today for 5 Minute Friday. Really appreciate it. How can people find your website?
www.qdoc.ca.
Love it. All right. Thanks a lot.
That was easy. Yeah.
Talk to you again.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Gloria.
Thanks,
Take
Gloria.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Great. I do